Head over to stretfordpaddock.bigcartel.com and check out the Paddock merch. And for a short time, you can get 20% off orders with 2 items or more using the code Paddock20. Go get on it.
All right, I'll speak first then. You win. Yes. You're right.
Magic.
Been up to? Been that there London, haven't you?
Yeah, did a bit of this and that. Did a bit of this and that.
Howson. Hey. This is Howson's Brew, or the Brew as it's now termed. Get involved in the chat, get involved in the comments, let us know what you think, and give us a like as well. Yeah, so what are you doing in London?
Arsene Wenger and Rio were talking about the future of football, which I think the Premier League clubs have unanimously voted to fucking bat away.
That's off to a solid start then, isn't it?
I don't think that was the only thing they were talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually didn't listen greatly and in depth to what they were talking about.
Can
we change the colour of the lights, please?
Weren't you directing this?
I was directing it, but I'm not listening. All I'm listening for is, does the audio sound good?
Right, okay.
And making sure the pictures are looking good.
I'm a mere novice. I'm a Luddite. I don't understand these things.
So I'm not necessarily listening to the deep... There we go. Bit of red light on.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Roxanne.
Yes.
Sorry,
go on.
Didn't necessarily listen deeply to the concept, but I kind of knew the outline of what they were going to talk about anyway. So that was interesting. We did a podcast with Vincent Company afterwards.
Get out. This is a United podcast, mate. Oh, what are you, purple? Hey.
No, I'm not Pundit Jay.
Hey, he's my mate, Pundit Jay. Check out 3 points in the gaff. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean...
He's all right though, isn't he? To be fair. Because
really,
I've interviewed him a few
really
times.
He's
sound, yeah.
And you do want to rate him. The missus mentioned something to us the other day. Like, he was a big advocate for helping the homeless in...
I love the fact you pointed.
Well, she's there.
People watching going...
She's right there.
How's he going, the missus? Yeah,
she's like right behind that camera. Yeah, Blackpool. Tenerife. You know the game. So... You want to rate him.
Yeah.
Because one, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
And very good.
Yeah.
And two, he's easy to rate the way he played.
Like, without turning it, and we'll talk about this briefly, then we'll move on. But he wasn't one of those players that did things that you hate.
Suarez.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't racist. He was just like...
He was just good.
He was just good, and he got stuck in. Which is
it's like, I can't hate Yaya Toure as much as like you theoretically want to.
No.
I got a lot of respect for Company, got a lot of respect for Aguero, got a lot of respect for Yaya Toure. I mean, they were all infinitely better players than the... Do you know what it is?
Go on.
I don't think they got their flowers.
Right, okay.
Whereas Steven Gerrard looked like he owned a florist.
God, I'll tell you one thing, I can't cope with this adulation that he's getting. I saw some tweets saying the return of the Premier League king.
Madness, absolute madness. So I think that they were probably underappreciated. And I think... to a degree, all three of them slightly underappreciated, even by City fans.
I think Toure is.
Because
massively.
When Pep's like, I'm not having him, and I'm not having him,
yeah.
City fans, because Pep's bigger than their fucking shit little club, they just have to do what he says. Whereas, I'm sorry, Yaya Toure is greater than any player that pulled a shirt on for City prior to him.
I think he's the best player I've seen for City. Let's not forget, Yaya Toure was underrated generally. I know, again, we'll move on quickly so this is turning into a bit of a City loving, but you remember that season where he scored 20 Premier League goals, won the title for him, right? Steven Gerrard slipped and cost him the title, and yet came second behind Suarez in the voting for the Player of the Year.
Said about not getting the flowers.
Yeah.
I don't think they got their flowers in the slightest. But anyway, so Vincent Company, I asked him some questions, and his answer was sensational. Like, if a United captain had said that,
go on, what did he say? There's one you told me about, but
I've emptied into my trousers.
Tell the viewers.
On the front. Rio was talking about preparing for the game. What?
You're such a wordsmith, Stephen.
He was talking about preparing for the game, and Rio was like, I wanted to be the best centre-half on the pitch, not just out of me and the manager, but out of you two and that as well. And, and he was like, so how did you prepare for the games to Company? And he goes, I just wanted to kill everyone, to be honest. I was like, I resonate with that on so many levels.
That is, the one thing I didn't like about...
And I think I just said to him, and he played like that as well.
He did, didn't he, to be fair? One thing I didn't like about him, though, is he said I look like Fabian Delph, which I didn't like. No matter how accurate that may have been. That's what he said when he interviewed him once. He was talking about Fabian Delph, and like, you look like him, actually.
So it's coming out Monday. It's honestly, I think, one of the best podcasts
What was Wenger like? Because, I don't know, I can't make my mind up with Wenger. Like, there's part of me that thinks, okay, late 90s, early 90s. Got to respect it. United, the Arsenal and United rivalry has never been seen before or since in the Premier League. Yeah. For 7 years, the only teams that won the Premier League were United or Arsenal. And during that time, we won the treble. Arsenal had that season where they drew 12 games. It was like there was seminal moments.
Twice.
Yeah, there was seminal moments during that. So you have to sort of respect that because it pushed us to new levels, and it did, and he did. But then there's part of me that thinks he lost the plot a bit. And you don't sell us.
And I think this is one of those things about
this is why I'm
as a manager lost it.
Okay, go
on. Did Fergie lose it in the mid-noughties, or was a team full of Jemba, Mikel Sylvester, and fucking Darren Gibson maybe not quite good enough to compete with the best Chelsea team we've seen in decades?
I understand that. I think the sort of the response I would say to that is you're right, but there was planning there. He was not taking a time off, but he was planning for the future because you had Ronaldo, you had Rooney, you had these players that were that needed a couple of years.
Arsenal's problem was the move to the Emirates. That financially hamstrung them. So, like, do you think he wanted to? Was it Jeremy Aliadier up front? Like, do you think he wanted that over Terry Henry and his ilk?
Yeah, no.
Of course he didn't. He built teams. He pulled Vieira out of Italy. I think it was AC Milan. He got.
No, you're right. Yeah.
He had some fantastic. The French ones are very well known, but obviously he got Terry Henry and Vieira from Italy.
Nicholas Anelka as well. I was watching that documentary, which I didn't think was that good, but he fought to get him from Paris Saint-Germain, I think, when he was 17.
Anelka, Arsenal versions of Anelka was a fucking handful. It was an absolute handful, and he was sensationally good. And I actually think what he got from Anelka made him sign Terry Henry.
Do you know what thing? I think you got a good point there, especially in the 99 season when we won the treble. Anelka's, some of the goals he scored were ridiculous.
He scored like 23 goals,
Yeah, but loads of them, from outside the box, like into the bottom corner. I remember him. But I think the main issue with Wenger, which is one thing he didn't have that Fergie always had, I think he couldn't keep older players when he needed to. I think Fergie recognised, I need this guy. Don't get me wrong, there's exceptions. Ronaldo eventually had to go, but he got another season out of him. He knew, like, Eric, I'll do whatever I can to keep him. Whereas Wenger would just go, Van Persie, you want to go at United? Go on then.
Yeah, I think that was... but again, you don't know what the financial constraints were. And I think they were the massive hamstringing for him. I think he's a fascinating listen. He's a real statesman. And he's got real charisma about him. And out of just respect of what he achieved in the game... I'll take the piss out of him on a podcast all day long.
Yeah, of course you will.
But when you're in his presence, I didn't even speak to him.
I thought you'd have been right there because you're into your coaching and that.
It's a bit of a networking event, there's a ton of agents there. There was a load of ex-players there, and me and fucking Ronaldo just sat on the sofa.
Hey, take the boy out of East Manchester.
We ended up sitting on the sofa with Rio, but not. It wasn't just completely out
just
of the
getting
woods.
a Greggs and sitting on the sofa when
everything's going on around you. It's busy. I was just that was the first event we as Studio 68 as a business really had produced live, certainly on that scale.
Yeah, that's mad. That.
So personally, professionally, I was very nervous about none of the tech failing, nothing like that. But obviously, we put on a good stream. It looked good. It sounded good. So I was just relieved that I didn't have to start shouting at people anymore. So I just went and sat at the back and was like, right, done. I thanked Jill and I thanked Howson, and that was all I said to them both. I was just like, thank you.
Professional head on. Did a good job as well, bro. Seriously, well done. I know you put a lot of work into it, so it's good to see it coming to fruition.
So that was London for the first half of the week.
Yeah.
So missed the podcast on Monday for it.
Well, there wasn't much to talk about, to be honest, if you didn't miss much. Nothing happening at United.
There really isn't nothing happening at United, though.
At United.
I'm seeing, and I'm sure... We can see it on the thumbnail here behind us. Like, where's this Brendan Rodgers talking?
Well, I wanted to ask you about this because there's a few things I need to ask you about on that thumbnail. Starters, who's the geezer on the next to him?
Ralph Ragnick.
Is he real? Him or what? I had to double check.
He's a genuine non-fiction character.
Right? Is he good?
As a coach, he had some good and some bad appointments. But again, I think every good coach has had some what the fuck happened there kind of appointments.
Yeah.
I think he's more of a director of football kind of character. I think he's a guy that is more of a football administrator now than a hands-on coach. He might, we're saying this without actually technically having a managerial vacancy, but I understand the scenario we're in. I think if you don't beat Watford at weekend next week, there very much might be a managerial vacancy, and there very much should be a managerial vacancy if that's the case. But as it stands, there is obviously currently speculation about where you go from here. I actually don't think I think United's decision's been made. I think the fact that we entered international break, I think that Monday, Tuesday this week was critical.
That was peak.
I think he could have gone then, but with him not going then, especially when he got on the plane, because I thought you can sack him when he's on the plane, because then he doesn't have to have that whole getting on the plane thing where he gets mithered. I thought that would have been quite a nice thing to do, to sort of like, all right, you want to make the statement? All right, cool. Can you give me 20 minutes to get out of it?
No, that's fair.
But obviously that's not happened.
No.
So that's the decision. The decision is clearly for the foreseeable. Now, I've got issues with that. And one of my issues is supposedly Richard Arnold doesn't want the first thing he does when he takes over to be sacking Solskjaer.
I've heard this, a couple of times. We put it to Laurie well. He says, I think he said, I've not heard that, but I can understand that being true with that.
But also, the evidence is there that this is the case. Woodward doesn't want the last thing he does to be sacking Solskjaer.
Yeah, I think that's similar to what Laurie was saying.
Sorry, mate, that's your fucking job.
Yeah, that's what Joe put to Laurie. I know it's not Laurie's responsibility, just as a report. He was saying, like, the benefit of the club is what should be at the foremost front of your mind. What is best for the club, not what is best for Ed Woodward or best for Richard Arnold. What is best for Manchester United. Now, if the best move for Manchester United is we get another manager in, then so be it. And if it isn't, then okay. But not, how is this going to affect my standing? How is this going to affect my legacy?
This is the entire problem with that managerial group.
Yeah,
is that everyone wants it's the Instagram model thing. They want the appearances of success without willing to put the fucking work in.
Good analogy.
You want paying $5 million a year, Edward, right?
Yeah.
How about you put your fucking thumb out from under your ass and actually do some work? You're paid to be the CEO of Manchester United. How about make some decisions like the fucking CEO of Manchester United? Now, if the decision that you've made is Solskjaer's my man, okay, cool. Come out and say that.
Yeah.
Stand behind him, because this speculation does nobody any good.
It doesn't, and I feel you're right. I feel like there's an element of we're taking a step back. If he does lose to Watford, then we'll get rid.
It's cowardly.
Yeah, there's neither here nor there. There's no, like you say, Woodward could come out and he could say, listen, and it might even be a message to the players that they need and say, don't think if you don't turn up on Saturday, he's not going to be here a week later.
Correct.
He is. He's here to the end of the season. So if this shit goes down, he's going down with him as the captain. He's here, so you deal with it.
Yeah.
Or he could say, we could sort of start looking for the managers, letting have a word with Ole and say to Ole, right, you know what, it's not working out. Give 2 weeks notice, so
I think the board would be well within their rights and well within respect for the manager currently to come out and say either the decision that we're making currently is that we were going to give Ole the full run of this season, and we will make a decision at the end of the season. If it continues as it is, then I think you can see what's going to happen. However, he'll be given the opportunity to turn that around, and we hope he does, and he's here with us for the long term. I don't think Ole could have an issue with that.
No.
And by the same rule, they could come out and say, is he under pressure? Yeah, he fucking is under pressure. What have we won, like 2-5, 2-7, something like that, feels like? They could come out and say, as it stands, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is our manager, but we are under no illusion that results must improve. If they do not improve, we will be forced to act. And again, I don't think that's being disrespectful to the manager.
Being
but this
logical in it, to be
nonsense fair. Of just coming out and saying fucking nothing and just like they're probably going to announce a new tractor sponsor or some shit like that. You're ignoring the elephant in the room. You have to address the results.
Yep.
And you have to come out and say either he's our man and he's got to the end of the season, or there's a way of nicely saying, look, he's under pressure.
Yeah.
And if he's under pressure, I think that gives you the license to start talking to the likes of Brendan Rodgers. Because what it doesn't do, when you're the manager, or if you're a manager and you hear things like United have sounded out Brendan Rodgers, well, that's more disrespectful than putting your cards on the table, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. Just on the Rodgers front, because this one sort of came a little bit out of nowhere and then seems to be gathering some momentum. And now I feel like I'm in a position where a lot of fans, and you might not be one of them watching, but a lot of fans are now trying to convince themselves of like, all right, okay, well maybe Rodgers isn't that bad. And I keep hearing this argument of he's better than Ole, and I think that's not the be all and end all. Whether you agree with that or not, it should be more than just he's better than all. It should be, is he good enough to challenge Pep and Klopp and Tuchel? Is he up to that job? Is he up to the job of managing the egos of Ronaldo and Pogba and Bruno and nurturing the youngsters like Greenwood and whoever else comes through, whether it's Elanga or Teden Mengi or whatever, has he got that in him? Has he got all those components you want from a Manchester United manager?
Can you name a youth player that he's brought from an academy into a first-team regular?
No, we're having this discussion on when the podcast was on because someone was talking about Harvey Barnes, but he's a bit older than I don't think he brought him through. I think he came through, but it wasn't.
Is Hamza Chowdhury one of them, perhaps?
Maybe. He's not renowned for
right.
That.
Okay, so cool. So that's probably an exit.
I know they bought him. Maybe Sterling at Liverpool, but they bought him from QPR. But he gave him a chance, didn't he? That's not the same thing.
You could have an X in that box.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Am I bothered by the Liverpool connection? Yeah, I am actually. Yeah. Right. I was raised right. And for all of the people who, and I've had numerous. What about Dennis Law? What about Sir Matt Busby? What about them? You're a fucking absolute imbecile if you don't think football and the rivalry between Manchester United and Liverpool and City as well has changed since the 30s and the 60s to now. Munich happened. Those fan bases' responses to that thing happening has changed those rivalries. Did I cheer Michael Owen's goal? You're fucking right I did. Didn't clap him coming on, no, did I? And I still never took to him. And he can still fuck off as it stands right now. Scout swat.
Right. Well, with all that being said, the Liverpool rivalry is one thing. You know my thoughts on Liverpool rivalry as well.
Where's the loyalty, Jay?
Yeah, I get that. My thing would be...
People's like, so you're saying you wouldn't take Pep and Klopp? That's exactly what I'm saying.
My thing would be, though, if I thought... Right, I'll be honest with you, this is where I think we're slightly different. I understand everything you're saying, but I think if I thought Rodgers comes in and wins a title, I'd be up for it because I think actually that would stick the knife in with the Scouts because they're like, wow, he couldn't do it with us.
That was the only acceptance with Jose. Yeah, you're like, well,
he'll come in and I'd love to see
stuff.
And I did a tweet joking about, I'd love to see him lift the title with United and he waves to Gerrard in the opposite dugout and say, that's how it's done, you slippy person. I'm on a thing, not swearing, I promise me kids. But it's a task. But especially sat next to you talking about Brendan Rodgers. But if you just ignore, which is a big thing to ignore, I give you that. If you ignore the fact that, Liverpool, do you think he's got what it takes? If he comes in, can he succeed? You might not want him here, but if he's the manager of Manchester United next month, right, can he win us a title?
To get Ollie out of the job, there has to be an obvious upgrade. Now, a lot of people are going, he is an obvious upgrade. Okay, cool. So here's the logic that you're trying to throw out at me, right?
Go on.
The logic that you are trying to throw at me is that a man that has competed in the same league as him and never finished above him is better than him. And that's the man that's going to close the distance on the two guys that we can't catch with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And you go, okay, well, look at the starting 11 that he's got. Okay, let's look at the starting 11 that he's got. I think Leicester's starting 11, squad depth's different, but starting 11 has got less weaknesses, if not, it certainly doesn't have the same sort of reach as Manchester United's best players, but it's got less weaknesses than Manchester United's. And you might say, well, that's a positive. Brendan Rodgers helped build that. Yeah, I'll give you that. I will give you that. He's been a part of building quite a solid Premier League team there. But the starting 11 that he's pissing with has less weaknesses than the one that Ollie's dealing with, yet he finishes below it. So how can you logically reconcile that the man to close the gap on the teams that are above us has never finished above the guy that he's replacing?
When we went there, we were sat, me and you were over the other side of the studio, and we went to the King Power, didn't we? United, obviously not us, we were here. That 2 seasons ago on the last day. And it needed a little bit of mathematics for Leicester to finish above us. The first thing they had to do was beat us. They didn't, we beat them.
And that's happened multiple times with the Rodgers.
And it does feel like
don't tell
there is
me
that thing of trouble of him getting over the line. Yeah. And you can point at the Steven Gerrard slip, and that's not Brendan Rodgers' fault. But you think
it is playing Steven Gerrard as the six.
You played him as the six. You said, right.
It's like people that are looking at Fred now and putting that on Fred and not Ollie. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. And also, how do you react to that? Because what Rodgers did on that game, if you remember that game, he left him on, and Gerrard took it upon himself to try and shoot from every distance he could.
Oh, it's not like him.
I know, yeah. Where a stronger manager might have just said, I'm taking you off.
And also Chris Campbell happened after that, didn't it?
Yeah. Like 3-0 up against Palace, and they draw 3-0. So there is that element with him. And okay, he won the FA Cup, which is a trophy I respect, and he did a very good job at that because it was against Tuchel and Chelsea. But there is an issue there with getting over the line, and it's a train that keeps going.
Recently.
Sorry?
And I read that one recently. Bobby Martin has one recently. It's a cup competition. Your bread and butter's your league.
This is a
now,
point.
I always said I'll never diminish anybody that's won a league title. No. Right? Winning a league title's good. But for all the people that are saying that winning the Norwegian league's a load of old arse with a team that's never won it, Brendan Rodgers went in when Celtic had won 4 or 5 on the bounce and won another 3 with them. What a fucking genius. Sorry. How did he do that?
Yeah.
No, I think he did it undefeated, right?
Yeah. No, his record at Celtic's good. I'm not going to disparage that. But you're right. You can't have it both ways. If you're going to say, what Ollie did at Norway doesn't count. In Norway, sorry, doesn't count. But Rodgers in Celtic that doesn't make any sense to me. You either count them both or neither of them. Son Patrick McDade has been a member of the academy for 12 months. Thanks for your support. Says David Brent as manager, not a chance. I don't agree with that. In the workplace, very good.
Have you heard the quotes off the guy?
Go on, you did one before. What was it? Was it?
You can live with many days without water, but you can't live a single minute without hope.
What's that about? What are you talking about?
That's literally an office quote, isn't it? Literally a quote out of the fucking office.
That deluded Rodgers thing, that the account that started. When that started, I think a lot of people thought that was real. Like, those were his real quotes. Because he has got a penchant for the odd... I'm gonna try and find a few now, so we're not just...
They're insane.
Yes, there's... let me have a look here. I'm going to bring up some of his quotes. You know... right, yeah. I mean, there's quite a lot. I'm trying to...
It's great for the public here at Sunderland to see us. They must have been wondering what this team is everyone's talking about.
I believe a young player will run through a barbed wire fence for you. An older player looks for a hole in the fence.
I use a quote with the players, per aspera ad astra, which is Latin for through adversity to the stars.
What? Here's one for you. I really hate Steven Gerrard. He cost me a title. The slippy, absolute waste of space. Wow, I didn't know he said that. I might have made that one up. So not a big no from you then. All right, here's one for you. Because the one name that everyone sort of agrees with United would have if he was available. I know the journalists we speak to, say, yep, he's got a lot of respect within the United hierarchy. They see him as a potential future Manchester United manager, and I know you wait till I ask you the question.
Steve Bruce.
No, not Steve Bruce.
Right.
We'd have Steve Bruce, because I love him. Hey, 19 goals in a season. Kevin De Bruyne's never done that. But the one
Fucking strikers who've never done that.
I know.
A lot of them.
Exactly. Is Pochettino. Now, I know he's not available at the minute because he's managing some club in France. But I'm going to put it to you, because you have a similar opinion on both Rodgers and Pochettino. If, and it's a big if, Pochettino's available and the board have a decision to make and they go, right, it's either Rodgers or Poch, and you can't say neither, who are you going for?
Can I liquidate the club?
No, we're in this together forever.
Fuck's sake.
You know the rules. That's not an option. We're not one of those who go, I'm not going to support United anymore because we're not very good.
I'd probably go with Poch.
Wow, you must really hate Rodgers.
He's a cringeworthy. Doesn't he give you the ick when you look at him?
Do you know what, right?
And you listen to him speak and you just think, you smell your own farts. I know you do, right? For starters. And you love it when you do.
I just feel like United really have took the banter era thing by the scruff of the neck and like embraced it.
You appoint
haven't we?
an
We've gone full
ex-Liverpool
banter.
Literal parody of a fucking character on The Office that's won but an FA Cup.
Yeah.
And he's going to topple perhaps 3 of the greatest managers that Europe's seen in many a year.
Yeah.
Really? Fucking really?
Here's one for you then. Because you've been one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's most prominent vocal supporters, and you know I understand that, I'm rightly so. I've been with you all the way. Can he turn it around? Do you see a scenario, Ole? Because we've had the Rodgers scenario, the Poch scenario, the Ten Hag, we did that the other week, Ralph Rangnick and all this other stuff. We're forgetting at the moment, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the manager of Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the one, as far as we're concerned, who's going to be picking the team for the Watford game.
Yeah.
Is there a scenario you believe where he can get a tune out of these players? You've been, I know it's different strokes before anyone gets involved, but you've been, coaching and managing yourself. Do you look at him and go, he could motivate these players and turn it around? Because this is a guy who has finished third, he's finished second, he's beaten he's beaten Tuchel a couple of times, he's beaten Klopp, he's beaten Guardiola. Can he turn this around?
In all honesty, it doesn't feel like he can.
Right, okay.
And that was the turning point, because up until summer, his remit was finish inside the Champions League and overhaul the club, which I think he would do, right? So you can argue on whether he could have won a trophy while he was doing that, and I think he should have won the Europa League, I think, at least. And ultimately, trophies are what you are measured on. And he should have won a trophy. Not winning the trophy but still getting Champions League qualification shouldn't result in the automatic sacking, which is what I think some of the fucking children who follow us really believe that.
We do appreciate your support, though. Thanks for keep following us.
But you're a fucking child, so relax. So I think you have to have allowed him up until that point. The minute he got Varane, who's obviously been injured, Sancho, who hasn't played, and Ronaldo, the expectation shifts and changes because now you're dealing with a better caliber of player and a better caliber of squad. The problem Ollie's got is that not only did this expectation level from here get risen to here, our performances that were here have dropped to here, or maybe even further. So the gap between where we were, are, and should be has increased. And I don't think that's entirely on the manager. I think some of the individual performances, Shaw, Maguire,
that left-hand side of our defence is just
Fred,
gone to the dogs.
Marcus being out, whatever's going on with Sancho. There's things at play here that have played into it. But there's still fundamental things that are in that management's control that we haven't fucking dealt with.
No.
That they haven't done a good enough job dealing with. Or they haven't, 2 weeks ago we switched it up to a back three. And seemingly it worked out of nowhere and we just persisted with it through the next couple of weeks. But we knew, we was having conversations saying, where's he going to play Pogba? Because he shoehorned him in on the left and it worked for Newcastle and Leeds games. He ain't going to play there when Marcus gets back. So is this temporary? It told me there and then that he didn't know what he was going to be doing.
This worries me because me and you did a podcast or a preview 2 years ago or something, and he'd done something similar where he'd gone to the back three, it worked for a week, and he'd stuck with it and then it hadn't worked. And you said that's a criticism you've got of him. Sometimes he'll try something and think, oh, that's the new system now, regardless of the fact the opponent's changed. So that is a worry when we're 2 years down the line. And
that's still sort of happening.
I remember you saying it.
Ultimately, it's a results business. Yeah. And if he'd have been, Chelsea are not playing well. No one's prepared for that conversation at the moment, though. Chelsea are not playing well. They are scraping through games. But do you know what the important thing in that is? They're scraping through the fucking games, Jay. Yeah, so they're picking up the wins.
Titles like that.
Aren't they top of the league at the moment?
Yeah.
Right. So ultimately, whether it's performance or results, people are taking the results.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you'll go, well, do you know what? The performances might improve, but we're still getting the results. At the moment, people are looking at United and going, at the start of the season, well, we picked up a couple of results. The performance wasn't bad. And then it changed and the performances were dreadful and we weren't getting the results.
That's the big thing that disappoints me, though, because City have lost to Palace, drew with Southampton, lost to Spurs this season, I know it's different, but lost against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. The Scousers got to beat off West Ham the other day, drew with Brentford. No one's having it all their own way. This isn't City 100 points a few years ago, but we're not involved in the conversation because we've been that bad where we're dropping so many points where even if we'd have beat, I know it's a big if, but even if we'd have just beat Villa and Everton, we'd be level with the Scousers now on points, and it's a different conversation.
If we'd have beat them, we'd have been level with them or above them.
Yeah, it's a different chat, innit? Because all of a sudden you're going, okay, this isn't what we expected, but it's not panic
but these are the fine margins that exist.
I know it's a big if, by the way, before people start going.
And not only is it a case of, if we'd have just turned around that tiny little 5-0 dicking that we got at home, it's a big thing for us to overall.
If we just protested again and got that game postponed like we did the other year, we'd been all right.
But yeah, I think there are signs there where you go, listen, the job he had done up until summer, you can't be revisionist and say that he should have. Like people was like, I was telling you 2 years ago that he should have gone. All right, well, 2 years ago he was fucking wrong.
Yeah, no. Like I've always said this with Ollie. Like me and Scotty, when we chat, Scotty's been an advocate of getting rid of Ollie for a little while. He just doesn't think he's up to the job. And I've always said when I've spoken to him, because he makes a good case. He's not just just get rid of. He has a point that he's making. He just doesn't think he can get us where we need to be. But my argument has always been he's deserved that end of the season, the next season. So when he got to third,
he's hit the minimum expectation.
You don't sack someone who gets you
impressed.
to third.
He's not took it. He's not gone, oh my, wow.
Yeah.
But he's hit the minimum expectation that the Glazers have set. It's not necessarily our minimums. But the Glazers have shown you in their history.
I'm not going to lie. Like when we finished third in that Premier League season, okay, I'm not going to go, when's the parade we finished third? But I thought I'm happy with that in terms of a stepping stone to next season. I'm happy with what he's doing. When we finished second last season, I think, okay, he deserves another season. I'm happy with this.
If we'd have picked up the Europa League at the end, you come second in the Europa League.
I know.
You go, that's a pretty good season in the grand scheme of things.
I think that's cost him that, because I think now, had he won that, we're having a different conversation, because you're giving him a little bit more leeway. He's going, he won the Europa, finished second, we know he's not an idiot, we know we can do this, let's give him a bit more time.
And that on the motivation of the players as well. Like, when you speak to any players, and they'll tell you they're internally motivated. They're not motivated by a manager.
Oh, I know. I mean, that is a little bit of a worry. Funny Grow in the super chat says, I recognise what Ollie's trying to do. I don't think they fire Ollie. Any chance when Merlinstein joins the coaching team? He's coached it successfully. What do you reckon with that? I mean, we asked him, didn't we? We didn't ask him, sorry. He couldn't talk. Is he tied up at the minute, Rennie? You know, he's
with Australia, but that's about it, I think.
Yeah, I think it's not a case of as easy as he can do. I don't know. Maybe it's different if he got the call. But as far as we know, there hasn't been that conversation. And I always worry me when it's a manager's under pressure and the answer is change the coaching staff or bring in another coach, because I think it undermines it a little bit. I think you get rid of the manager or you don't. I think bringing in another coach is sort of saying the manager ain't up to the job, so I'm going to come and help him. But you've still got that bit of the manager ain't up to the job.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Ronaldo and you're sitting there going, they've had to bring in another coach because this manager is telling me what to do, don't know what he's doing.
But this is the thing, is people misapportion what... Here's the thing. Ultimately, the manager is responsible for whatever gets assembled.
Yeah.
We all know Ollie's not taking training. So if the training ain't good enough, it is on the coaches that's
do you rate him, Kieran McKenna?
I've never had a training session with him.
Right, that's a fair comment.
The only things that I've heard of...
unlike most of Twitter, who seems to have a
I've spoken to
analysis
first team and academy players who said he's extremely good. And I saw someone the other day say, someone made a list of how everyone had failed. Like Mike Phelan failed with Hull. All right, we're going to ignore the fact he was United's assistant from 99 to 2013 when we was relatively successful and European champions. All right, no either. And like Kieran McKenna failed at Tottenham. He was headhunted by United. Yeah. He was considered a shining star at Tottenham. We gave him to our academy. He won the league with our academy. He was promoted to the first team under Jose, I think.
The thing is as well, like with managers, Carlos Queiroz, flopped at Real Madrid. He went to...
You speak to any player that was trained by him and they were like,
and we
genius. Genius is the word.
Yeah, we won the Champions League with Carlos Queiroz in the dugout. Steve McLaren, I know he had some success, but he pretty much flopped as England manager. Flopped at, was it Wolfsburg where he went to?
Won the treble with him.
Yeah. So, it's that old thing. Kiddo went to Blackburn and got relegated within 3 months or whatever it was. Yeah. Won title after title alongside Fergie. So it's not just a case of, these people failed as managers. There's a couple of super chats I'll get into. Redman07 says, clear sign that the end is near is when we're considering appointing someone called Ragnarok. Not all on Ollie. Being far too costly individual player errors. I agree with that as well. Rabu says, Steve, you said Fergie's earned the right to burn the place down if he wants to. Reports suggest Fergie's asked the board to give him more time. Do you buy into those reports? You think Fergie might be saying to the board,
Where do they come from?
I mean, I don't know. Didn't he go to get a suit the other week and people were losing their minds? Brian Malone says, you can't say if we had won X or Y. If we are giving United hypothetical points, then City, Liverpool should be given theirs too. It balances out. It does. I think the point we're making is it's not been... It's annoying for me because I think there is an element of I don't see this having an happy ending. Yet we've just been 3 or 4 games, not even that, maybe 2 games where... we could have avoided all this. We could have. Yeah, but we could have done it.
Even if you'd have picked up a couple of better results, the performances have been objectionably shit.
They have been. I mean, there's no denying that the performances have been unreal. And the thing is, we were sat here and, the emotion kicks in and when Ronaldo returned and you look at it, you go...
Mate, he scored a lot of last-minute winners.
What a goal. No, I'm not having a go at him, but, we got Varane, which I was buzzing about because I didn't see that one happening. Sancho finally... After all that saga, you throw Ronaldo in there, that's a mint window, That's like icing on the cake.
It might be one of our best windows.
We had that debate, and I think there's the argument 2007, end of 2007 when we brought in Tevez, Hargreaves, Nani and Anderson. But,
pretty good window.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent window. But you're right, other than the window where we signed Brian
Robson. And it's going exactly the same way, kind of.
I mean, I wanted to ask you a question actually, right? Scotty put this on his... We were talking about Scotty before, if I can find it. He put...
Is it about when we played Montpellier on the run to winning the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final?
No, but it's connected to that because all roads lead to that, right?
Give me a...
Well, this is the
random commenter, give me a topic.
Yeah, give him, random commenter, get in here, give him a topic.
Give me a topic and I'll move it all the way back to Rotterdam.
Right, so Scotty asked, which managers had the most players that went on to become successful managers in their own right? He suggested Lippi, because he's got Zidane, Conte, Deschamps, Vieira. Any more? You've had a few theories on this. I've heard you talking about this.
Probably Cruyff.
It's Cruyff your boy, isn't it?
I think Cruyff, when you look at people he's worked with, and what's come out from under him.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's got Rijkaard, he's got Hullet, he's got Pep Guardiola, he's got Blind, and then obviously you've got the...
Yeah, you can say, because someone has put that in the response, Enrique, Koeman, Blanc, De Boer, Van Gaal were with him.
Mourinho was his translator.
Yeah, so there's loads.
Well, sort of come after us, yeah.
Because my sort of suggestion was similar. So Bobby Robson had Guardiola. I can never say the guy at Sevilla's name, you know what I mean? You can pronounce that.
Oh, Lopatelli.
Yeah, Blanc and Enrique. But Cruyff is like the main one who's... Is he the reason we've all got to blame for all this tick-a-tacker thing that's, everyone's into now?
In a way, yeah. I mean, there's a brilliant book called The Mixer by Michael Cox, who's blocked me on Twitter because he's a knob. But
he's blocked me. I don't know if he has blocked me on Twitter, but I pulled him up about an article during lockdown.
Yeah, if you argue about him with anything, and I wasn't even abusive. I was just like, you're wrong. Because he was in favour of the 3 p.m. blackout staying in place, and I said, all right, cool, so when United play away you're suggesting those 76,000 people are going to go watch Altrincham or something, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, right, well, the numbers don't suggest that.
Yeah,
and he was like, no, the only people who he was like, he basically said no one illegally streams, and I'm like, you're fucking an idiot. It was like, my 78-year-old neighbour illegally streams. He's like, you would say that, you're an internet person. What the fuck does that mean? I wasn't real.
You're not real. He is here. This is real. This isn't just an internet facade.
Not a mirage.
He's sat there. Peter Kelly says, Maguire and Shaw are too comfortable. Came back from the Euros with their head up their ass. Thinly, they're better than they are. They are slack and not working hard enough. Knee drop. Where do you stand on it? Here's a question for you. Because there's a school of thought that they might be, I know, like, let me finish. They might be emotionally drained. They've lost the final, an England final. Luke Shaw scored in that final. He's 20 minutes or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact time away from being the biggest hero the nation's seen since Bobby Moore. They lose it. Harry Maguire goes to penalties. Maguire scores, but they lose the final. That's a big sort of... Do you buy into that? Because a lot of the England lot haven't done well this season. There's this thing that maybe it has been a bit of a drain for them emotionally and mentally because they've had to go through all that, being, the nation's darlings, and you're riding high, and then you have that massive disappointment at the end, and then it's the bump and grind of the Premier League.
Possibly. You've also got going the distance in a tournament, also takes it out here in a big way. Although I don't know if anyone is from the Italian side is suffering or not.
Do you think that plays into it though? The fact that
if you win, you're all right.
Yeah, maybe, you know what I mean? Because
like the treble season,
that euphoria. Yeah, and you just carry it on with you, and everyone's, this is great, this is buzzing. Do you know what I mean? It makes laugh because Keno in his book, I think his first one that he did with Eamon Dunphy, says about how he struggled after 99 because he said a lot of players came back, a few of them and you know who they were, and they had the attitude of, not all of them, but like, don't matter if we don't win anything again now, we've just won the... Do you know what I mean? And his thing was he didn't play in the final, and he was hungry. And he said maybe
Roy Keane could have played every minute and then some, and still would have had the same attitude.
Yeah, season, and he said he felt like some players didn't have that. Some players
fucking told them, didn't he?
Yeah, we've done it now.
But I had that vibe about Liverpool when they won the title. I thought they over celebrated, and it was like it felt like that was the end of something rather than the beginning of something. Whereas I thought in '93 when we won the league, it felt like the beginning of a dominance, and it's obviously turned out to be that. Whereas that Liverpool thing, especially when you look like a lot of the players, like I think like Salah and Van Dijk and Matip, like they're all 30.
Yeah, it's not 30. A young team, and it's weird because people think it is. People always go, it's only Jordan Henderson who's getting... Well, no, they're all like late 20s, early 30s.
It really felt like the end of something.
And also, they had that massive drop-off, didn't they, last season, where they just sort of literally just lost, 6 at home on the spin. Obviously got their act together again this season. For me, Liverpool, and I know they beat us 5-0, so it was better. They're a good team, but they're so reliant on Salah. I think it's just to a lesser degree Van Dijk, but I think Salah's so important to them. It's all about whether he's.
We've got a topic for me. To link back to.
Well, Mike just quickly says not football related, but I think important this time of year. Just want to say thank Steve for the service he's gave this country. Massive respect. Yeah, echo that. Right, let me see if I can find right. Well, no one's actually done it right. He asked for a topic, right, about anything. Yeah, anything you want, and he will link it back to Rotterdam 1991, and yet all I've got is about right. Here's one. Newton Heath.
Newton Heath. Yeah. Google me when the first international football match was for England.
First England international football match was, my friend, 1872, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was between Scotland and England.
It was between Scotland and England.
Yeah.
Was it? It was in Glasgow, I think.
Where's Paddock? Is that near Glasgow? Is that Glasgow? I don't know. Sorry for the Scottish viewers who are now screaming at me. Yes, it is. How do you know that?
I don't know. I know that. Why do I know that? But you can link basically. You know, the Scottish team played tiki-taka. And there's a lineage of, I think is it Queen of the South? One of those queens or something or other.
Yeah. Queen's Park.
Teams. Queen's Park, I think it is. Queen's Park, I think it is. So basically, it was England versus Queen's Park because they were the serious football team in Scotland. They represented Scotland. Yeah. They played tiki-taka. England at the time played a bit more of a rugby union style rushing game. And they thought the best move was to pass it around them and not let England get anywhere near it. And I think they got a 0-0 win, right?
Yeah.
0-0. Scotland went on to win like 14 of their first 12 internationals by playing a tiki-taka game, a record that I don't think they've ever been close to repeating.
Right.
Now, one of the players that played in that for Queen's Park moved, I believe, to like Middlesbrough or Sunderland.
Yep.
And became a footballer. Who was the geezer that was the manager of Tottenham when they won the double? Bill Nicholson.
Yep.
Right? He coached Bill Nicholson. And he coached a guy called Vic Buckingham. Vic Buckingham moved to Amsterdam, where he became an English teacher and also involved with the Ajax Amsterdam Football Club. While he was at the Ajax Amsterdam Football Club, he taught English to a young boy called Johannes Cruyff. Johan Cruyff grew up to be the greatest player of his generation and the next two. Also become one of the most influential godfather figures in the world of football, spawning such children following him, such as Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, Luis Enrique, Ronald Koeman, amongst a couple. And of course, played against Sir Alex Ferguson in 1991 in Rotterdam, where the greatest footballing achievement of all time was made.
Sir, well done. Adnan78 says, Turkey Twizzlers. Don't, because you will, and I don't want you to. Don't. Stop. We've got more super chats before you start. Nick Albany says, not impressed with Maguire as our captain either. Not exactly leading by example right now. And bad at coaching as well. Good centre-back, but not captain material. I'll ask you quickly, any chance of Maguire losing the captaincy? Is that a bad move?
Probably would be a bad move, but I didn't necessarily agree with him getting it in the first place. I think you've got to earn the United captaincy a little bit more than he had, but losing it, I think, would be...
He seems like a confidence player, doesn't he? Which is weird for a centre-back, because usually just full of themselves, but he's not. Brian Malone says, last year Liverpool had to pay City compensation for hacking their scouting system. Look it up. This is the sort of ruthlessness we need. Yeah, there was. I forgot about that, because it sort of slips under the radar, isn't there? Captain Jack Sparrow says, any possible way to get Glazers out of the club?
Not legal.
Yeah.
I think loads of illegal ones.
Yeah, but we won't go down that road because our lawyers are on holiday. Leo Man United says, okay, cool. So if Ollie's gone this season, who would you take? We had this the other week. Did you say Ten Hag? Was he one of your preferences? I know there's not.
Ten Hag's in the mixer. I think Laurent Blanc. I mean, everyone's going to go, oh, he's doing shit in Qatar. Okay, do you know anything about Qatar football? Because I don't. And I think James Rodriguez is playing for him.
Taking it seriously, then.
Yeah, like
the end of his career.
Is the truth, right? He had a pretty good, probably about, I think it's like 3 or 4% better than what Pochettino's currently is, and he didn't have Messi when he was PSG manager. Yeah. I don't know if he had Neymar, actually. Certainly didn't have Mbappe either, so draw whatever conclusions you want. But PSG aside, because I think much like being a Celtic manager, I'm not sure what the fuck that means, winning that title with that team.
I know that not winning it isn't very good.
That's a good point. However, what he did with Bordeaux, he had a win rate with Bordeaux at 58%, which is frankly ridiculous.
Yeah.
With Bordeaux.
That is ridiculous.
And he won a title with Bordeaux.
Yeah.
That is impressive. And I think he sustained that over 4 or 5 years.
Don't you feel with Blanc that he's revered at United? Like, I always get this impression that, I don't know, whenever people talk about Blanc and whenever you speak to ex-players.
If we're being honest with ourselves, he was a bit shit, wasn't he?
I know.
By the time we got him, he was very much a bit shit.
He seems to have that sort of air of like...
We also bought him on the back of Stam going, so you've just gone from an all-action superhero to a librarian-looking fucker who was a bit old.
Yeah, that's it. And
so the contrast didn't really do a lot.
You're right, because it was weird, but yeah, you still get the idea.
I never asked Rio about what he thought about Blanc.
Ah, yeah, because he obviously
would have played with him.
Yeah, because we never saw Rio on Stam, did we? Which is a travesty.
No,
But it's over then, isn't it? Let's just, you know what I mean? That's the 2 best centre backs ever.
Rio was talking he said, never really had this conversation with Vidic. He goes, but I definitely thought it a lot. He goes, the way people used to talk about Pallister and Bruce annoyed me. Really? He goes, and I was like, when they finish, they're not going to talk about Pallister and Bruce. It's going to be fucking Rio and Vidic. He goes, that was a thought that he was consciously saying to himself. He goes, I never said it to Vidic. He goes, but he was like, some like eyes and like not fucking be talking about them in 5 years.
He's got a kind of point in it because
they definitely eclipsed those two.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? But one thing that annoys me a little bit as well is how people forget about how good Bruce and Pallister was. Or not forget, you might be too young, but they don't get enough recognition because just winning titles all the time and scoring loads of goals and doing what you meant to do. Phony Grow says, sorry to bring the coaching back up. He loves it. Arsenal hired an army for Arteta to coach this team this season. It helped. Ollie's not coaching. I mean, does that help? Is that a big thing? Has Ali not got enough in the backroom staff, or is it?
Ultimately, all we can do is look at the results on the pitch, and I would say the results on the pitch aren't good enough. And that's, you can see some coaching on the pitch and know it's not good enough without actually having to be at training. I don't know the players I've spoken to said the training's great, and I can only go off the back of that. And they say they feel well prepared, so. If they were saying different things, I'd tell you.
Would they tell you if it was a bit?
The people I'm talking to absolutely would.
Yeah, they would
and
say
they've also said,
Steve, this is awful.
Put it this way, I know players who don't like McKenna,
right?
That have left the club,
yeah.
But they don't dislike him on the back of his coaching. They're still complimentary of his coaching, which I think tells you that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
There's a player that's left the club who I'm pretty good at contact with. Who had a personal thing with him.
Yeah.
And he keeps it as like, look, we fell out on this. We both disagreed. And, apart from that, he was a good coach.
Lent him money and I just didn't pay him back. One of them ones. Borrowed his car.
I think he said he told him he wasn't going to make it.
That's always the confidence booster you need when a young player at Manchester United.
If a coach tells you you're not going to make it and you can still be complimentary about how he coaches, that tells me that there's probably truth in what you're saying.
Listen, I'm with you. You said it earlier. You've not sort of. I know you listen to talk to players and stuff, but you're not there for the sessions. And I think it's easy to start.
And I am trying my hardest to get into a session. I'll get in there one day. I don't know who's going to get me in, but I'm getting in there.
I think there's a route there. You can do it. You've got contacts. Ali Unsaid says, considering the success of the protest last summer, do you think having a yearly protest against the Glazers will help keep them more accountable?
Yeah, do it 22nd of May every year. Fuck it.
Yeah, like we can have a little party, can't we? It's like put it in the calendar. I'll tell you one thing. I don't mind protesting. I'll join in with protests against Glazers. I'm not going to any protest against the manager. That's just ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? I think, yes, you can criticise and say you don't think he's good enough, but arranging a protest against the manager, I just think it's just...
Hang on. Someone said the new Robbo documentary, there's a topic for you. I ain't seen it yet. You've seen it?
No, yet. Should we have a viewing?
I thought we were getting it.
I thought we were, but it's not arrived, so I don't know. We'll have to make some calls.
And then say, also, when's the Rooney documentary out? Is that you saying there should be a Rooney documentary? Because I agree.
No, there's one out. Is it on Amazon or whatever it is?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's no holds barred, bro. He's talking about off the pitch activities and Colleen's in it, and they're not shirking away from the juicy topics. So it's the one that sort of it'll cover everyone there. Even if you're not that into your football, you might be into a bit of the gossip. I wonder if Rebecca Vardy's in it.
She's got a chapter. There's no way she's not got a chapter.
That'd be like
that was a seminal football Twitter moment. What, about 3 years ago?
That was a seminal moment in the history of the internet. That was like proper detective work.
Shit.
I think the Rooneys are actually low-key detectives.
I don't like gossip and shit. I ain't got time for that sort of shit.
Come on, but that was elite.
I was on it that day.
I like the fact that
we was all in there, weren't we?
Yeah, it was mint. And I love the fact that when Rooney couldn't get hold of his chairman, he borrowed the doctor's phone to get hold of him. Chairman's answering the phone. Hey, you all right? He's waiting. Oh,
That's my phone now, will you?
We're going to wrap it up there. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel. We'll get 700,000 subscribers by the end of the season, and with your support, we can do it. What are you up to this weekend? Do me yourself.
Got a game fucking cancelled.
It's not like you. Game's cancelling. What's going on here?
Fucking wank. We had a team pull out on us last week because of COVID. This week, all of fucking management resigned for the team that we're playing tomorrow, and they've asked us, can we postpone it?
No is the answer. I don't care if you haven't got management.
I could demand the points, but I'd rather play, Jay. I'm here for the sport.
Doing well as well, aren't you, your team? On a roll.
I'm annoyed that we're not getting it. Yeah. So
for the sport, you sound like something like the Roman times, like a gladiator.
There for the sport, Jay. I want to play the matches. We've got a big cup game next week.
Man, that kid at the process. I'm just there for the buzz, mate. Go on.
We've got a massive cup game next week against Denton.
Oh, Denton.
Denton. Beat us 4-0 in pre-season, right? So, massive cup game. Yeah. If we win, we're into the semi-final of the Manchester FA Cup, right? It's legit. It's like the Champions League for our level, right?
No, fair.
So
fair shout.
There are a couple of leagues above us. I wanted to go into it on the back of a couple of games and a couple of wins, you know what I mean? And I've had COVID postponement and everyone left us postponement. I've been trying to get a friendly. Listen, I tell you what, if you can get an 11 together and you've got a pitch that you can play us tomorrow afternoon, I'll bring 11 lads and we'll come and fuck you up if you want.
That's a nice prospect, isn't it? There's an invite that no one could say no to.
I was telling you before when I tell these lots. So we're in the Premier Division. We're joint top of the Premier Division.
Yeah.
There's Division 1, 2, 3, and then it gets lettered A, B, and C. Our third team, our development team, are in Division A.
Right.
And the league just messaged us say, hey, there's a team in Division B that's just had a COVID pull-out. They've got their own pitch. They'll play in a friendly. I was like, oh, sweet. I was like, they're not going to say yes, are they? So Dave, secretary, rang them up. Yeah, they said fuck off.
Rightly so as well. Fair play to him. That sounds like it could get a bit messy. So make sure you're checking out Paddock FC anyway, because when the game starts, up again, you'll be able to check out all their highlights and all that other stuff. You know where to find him all over the internet. And when's the Wenger stuff out? Not the Wenger stuff. When's the
company's out Monday, I believe.
Monday. So, if you want to go and check that out, make sure you are doing. This has been The Brew. I've been Jay Motti. That's been Stephen Howson. Thanks for watching.